weaponizing it? Advice. Who is weaponizing Tukokadi right now? Who's weaponizing it?
Let's see.
I'm asking, who is weaponizing it?
Okay, again, I'll keep saying that the rise of the level of sentiment will not give results to the country. And also the imagination that all young people or all Gen Zs want President Ruto to go is again a fallacy that will lead us to the wrong result. And that's why every time a young person will hear the colleague young person speaking the language that they do not agree with, they'll get unnecessarily annoyed, running away from the very democratic principles that are supposed to be governing them. And we are not saying, I am not saying that people need to do the traditional things. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that our law provides for a way in which governments are formed. And therefore, we must be able to abide by what the law provides. Otherwise, when we run away from that, the other guys stick to that, and then when push comes to shove, they become the only ones who are legitimate then. Okay? Because, for instance, what I'm saying, to run for office, one, you need a political party. It is not an old practice. Yeah? It is not tradition. It is not fear-mongering. It is the truth. It is our law. Okay? So when we are saying to do anything meaningful in terms of regime change or anything like that, you need a political party. It's just the truth. So once you need a political party, then you need people who will be able to be running on these political parties. And it's not just from the top, it's from the lowest level. Because no matter who you have as president, when you do not have the parliament and don't have these other organs, it is counterproductive. And this understanding of governance is what the people need to understand. So that at the end of the day, we are not just driving their thinking by use of sentiment. So that we have to understand that there is a parliament in Kenya that has about 400 members. These people are the ones who lead the budget process. They're the ones who, you've just quoted what some of them are saying about SHA.
And a fine job they've done of that.
Now, those members of parliament that we have in that parliament are brought to that house by the people.
By the vote.
By the vote. And that's what I'm saying, we must be able to organize so that at the end of the day, if the problem is at this regime level, it must change from onset, from the parliamentarians to the MCAs to all that.
Who said?
But
who said
if
it
the
must?
focus,
Who
if the
says it
focus,
must?
if the focus, I don't want to quote him and say, allow me make my point. You realize we have allowed you make your point.
No. This is a question. I'm sorry, but when you make a statement, I can actually come in and ask you. When you say it must, I'm asking, who says it must?
The Constitution.
That it must go via way of changing across the board.
The Constitution
for a new
provides.
Change to come in place.
The Constitution provides.
It doesn't dictate.
The Constitution provides. You can choose the words, but the truth is that the Parliament is the body in Kenya that makes law. Okay, and most of what the executive comes with will be able to be taken to that Parliament. The people who will allocate what is mostly called the cake of the Republic of Kenya will be done in that parliament. That does not change because of choice of words or sentiment. That does not change because of the emotions we have as a country. So that is the truth. And that's what I'm saying. It is good to understand governance in context. So that when people are able to go to the next election, they do not carry their emotions alone. Because most of the reason why we are where we are and do is because all our elections we have gone with our emotions. And that's why all our governments are unpopular 3 months after we vote them
what
in.
Should we take
3 months after we vote them in, we want the next, we want them to go away.
Devoid of emotions, it could be very hard because every government rises up on an emotion called hope.
And that's why we keep not wanting it after we vote for it.
Exactly. So what should we be taking to this election? What should be our guiding radar on how we approach this election?
Good. Our guiding radar as we move to the next election, as the people, number one is objectivity. We must reduce the voice of our sentiment and emotion and start being objective. And we must also understand that most of the time, if not all the time, the interest of politicians is to themselves, not to us. And most of the time, the politicians will speak our language when they want our vote. So us just voting people because they spoke our language is us accepting to have been conned. We must be able to lead the narrative as the people and decide what do we want.
So now
when we decide,
we've come full circle.
when we decide,
wonderful.
When we decide,
Yes.
what do we want as the people? It will lead us to who do we want to vote for. But the problem is that most of the time we are taking the narrative from the politician. Okay? And almost all the time, the politician's interest is in themselves. So for once, the people must make themselves their own stakeholder. When they make themselves their own stakeholder,
Yes.
then they will be able to organize effectively. And when they organize effectively, they will get the desired change. But if they do not do that,
Yes.
then the script will remain the same. We will carry our emotions, take them to the election, and vote for the person who incites our emotion the best.
Well,
2 months after that election,
Yes.
we will still be saying that person must go.
go.
And that will continue being a roller coaster.
Advice.